They say the internet is full of lies, but some stories feel too real to ignore. Whispers in the dark, shadows that move when no one's there. On our scary stories, the truth hides in plain sight, and sometimes it follows you. I watched something on my laptop that nearly took my life. Be careful, you might find it online too. The demonic nun Valak was just about to reveal itself in the painting when I hit pause on my laptop. Not because I was scared, hell no, but because nature was calling, and it was calling loud. I'd been putting off this bathroom break for the last 20 minutes of The Conjuring 2, telling myself I could hold it until the credits rolled. Bad decision. Now I was practically dancing in my desk chair, my bladder about ready to burst like a water balloon. My apartment was a typical 2-story rental in suburban Ohio. Nothing fancy, but it had character. The kind of character that included a bathroom on the first floor and my computer setup on the second. I bounded down the creaky wooden stairs 2 at a time, nearly tripping over my cat Buster, who had the annoying habit of sleeping right in the middle of the stairway. "Move it, you furry roadblock," I muttered, stepping around his orange tabby form. The downstairs bathroom was small and cramped, with outdated blue tile that probably hadn't been changed since the Carter administration. But right now, it looked like paradise. I flicked on the light switch and got down to business, letting out a sigh of relief that would have made my high school football coach proud. That's when everything went dark. "Oh, come on," I groaned into the sudden blackness. Not again. This neighborhood had a power grid about as reliable as a politician's promise. The electricity went out at least twice a month, usually during storms, but sometimes just because the universe had a twisted sense of humor. That's why I'd invested in an uninterruptible power supply for my computer setup just 2 days ago. Best $150 I'd ever spent, or so I thought. Beep, beep, beep. The urgent alarm from my UPS echoed down from upstairs, cutting through the silence like a fire drill. I knew that sound. It meant I had maybe 60 seconds before my computer would shut down automatically. 60 seconds to save my work, close my programs, and prevent any potential hard drive corruption. I yanked up my jeans, not bothering to button them properly, and stumbled through the pitch-black living room. My shin connected hard with the coffee table. "Son of a—" I bit back the curse and kept moving, feeling my way toward the stairs with my hands outstretched like some kind of zombie. The beeping was getting faster now, more insistent. 30 seconds, maybe less. I took the stairs 3 at a time, my heart pounding not from fear but from the adrenaline rush of racing against time. My computer represented 3 years of college papers, family photos, music collection, and about a dozen half-finished short stories I kept telling myself I'd eventually submit somewhere. The glow from my laptop screen was the only light source in the entire house now, casting eerie shadows on the walls of my bedroom. I dove for my desk chair and grabbed the mouse, ready to execute the fastest shutdown in computing history. But the screen had changed. The Conjuring 2 wasn't paused anymore. The video player was closed completely, and instead, my desktop wallpaper, a picture of the Chicago skyline, stared back at me. I frowned, my finger hovering over the power button. What the hell? A cool breeze brushed against the back of my neck, which was weird because I kept my windows closed in October. Ohio nights were getting chilly, and I wasn't about to pay extra on my heating bill. Then I felt it. Something soft and silky dragging across my scalp. Long strands of hair moving with a will of their own. My blood turned to ice water. Beep, beep, beep. The UPS was practically screaming now, but I couldn't move. Every horror movie cliché in the book was playing out in real time, and I was the idiot protagonist who'd ignored all the warning signs. Slowly, as if I was underwater, I turned around in my chair. "Jesus Christ, Emma!" I gasped, my hand flying to my chest. "You scared the hell out of me!" My girlfriend stood behind me in the doorway, her long brown hair catching what little light emanated from the laptop screen. She was wearing her favorite oversized sweater and those ridiculous fuzzy slippers I'd bought her for her birthday. "Sorry, babe," Emma said with a sheepish smile. I used my key. I called out when I came in, but I guess you didn't hear me with the movie going. The UPS fell silent. The laptop screen went black. Damn it, I slammed my palm on the desk. My poor hard drive. I had time to shut it down properly, but you scared me right when... Hey, Don't blame me for your bathroom emergency. Emma laughed, moving closer and wrapping her arms around my shoulders from behind. Besides, I did you a favor closing that creepy movie. I came up here and saw it paused on that freaky tall figure spinning with that toy thing. Who watches that stuff alone at night? Her hair fell forward, tickling my cheek. Even in the darkness, I could smell her shampoo, that vanilla and coconut blend she'd been using since we started dating 6 months ago. I wasn't scared, I protested, leaning back into her embrace. I'm a grown man. It takes more than some B-movie ghost girl to rattle me. Uh-huh. That's why you were watching it with all the lights on, right? Strategic lighting, I said with mock dignity. Creates better contrast for optimal viewing experience. Emma giggled, the sound warm and familiar in the cold darkness. You're such a dork. I love it. I was about to kiss her when something nagged at the back of my mind. A detail that didn't fit. Wait, I said slowly. When did you get here? I mean exactly when? About 10 minutes ago. Why? But I've been downstairs for maybe 3 minutes, tops. The power just went out. The power's been out since I got here. I had to feel my way upstairs. Good thing you left your laptop running. It was the only light in the house. The room felt suddenly colder. I tried to process what she was saying, but it didn't make sense. The timeline was all wrong. Emma, I said carefully, how did you close the movie if the power was already out? The laptop would have been running on battery, but the screen would have gone into power save mode after a few minutes of inactivity. Her arms loosened around my shoulders slightly. I must have bumped the mouse when I came in. You know how sensitive that thing is. That was true. My wireless mouse was notorious for its hair trigger response. Still, something felt off. You said you saw the movie paused on the tall figure with the toy thing? Yeah, super creepy. You had it stopped right at the worst part. I turned in my chair to face her, though I could barely make out her silhouette in the darkness. Emma, that doesn't make sense. I was watching the scene where the nun, Valak, was about to show up in the painting. The tall figure with the spinning toy, that's the crooked man, and it comes way later in the movie. My phone buzzed with a text message, the screen lighting up briefly on my nightstand. In that split second of illumination, I saw Emma clearly, and I saw her reflection in the bedroom mirror behind her. Emma had gotten her hair cut short yesterday, a cute pixie cut that made her look like Anne Hathaway. She'd been so excited about it, taking selfies and asking how it looked from every angle. The person standing behind me had long, dark hair cascading past her shoulders. The phone screen went dark again. Everything okay? The voice was still Emma's, still warm and familiar. You're being weird. What's wrong? I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My rational mind was scrambling for explanations. Maybe she was wearing a wig as a joke. Maybe the brief light had played tricks on my eyes. Maybe I was remembering wrong about the haircut. But deep down, in that primitive part of the brain that had kept humans alive for thousands of years, I knew. This wasn't Emma. You're so tense. The thing that looked like Emma whispered, her fingers. Were they too cold? Massaging my shoulders. Just relax. I closed that scary movie for you. Isn't that better? The hair was touching my face again, and I could swear it was damp. Not with shampoo or styling product, but with something else. Something that smelled like stagnant water and old television static. Emma, I croaked, my voice barely audible. Where's your car? My car? I didn't hear you pull into the driveway. I always hear your car. That muffler's been acting up for weeks. Silence. The hands on my shoulders were definitely too cold now, and too wet. I parked on the street, she said finally. Didn't want to wake the neighbours. That was reasonable. Mrs. R. Henderson next door had complained about noise before. But Emma never parked on the street. She was paranoid about her car getting broken into or hit by drunk drivers. My phone buzzed again. This time I lunged for it, desperate for light, for some connection to reality. The text was from Emma. Hey babe, running late for girls' night. Movie probably won't be over until midnight. Love you. The timestamp showed 9:47 p.m. It was now 10:23 p.m. Emma was across town at the Century 16 Theatre, watching some romantic comedy with her college friends. She'd told me about it 3 days ago. The hands on my shoulders tightened, nails digging into my skin through my t-shirt. Put the phone down. The voice was still Emma's, but there was something underneath it now. something wet and static-filled like a radio transmission from underwater. I couldn't put the phone down. The screen was my lifeline, the only thing keeping me tethered to sanity. In its glow, I could see my reflection in the computer monitor in front of me. I was sitting in my chair. Something was standing behind me, but the reflection showed I was alone. "This isn't real," I whispered, more to myself than to whatever was behind me. "This is just... It's the power outage, and the movie, and my imagination. Stress hallucination. That's a thing, right?" The laughter that came from behind me wasn't Emma's. It was the sound of water gurgling in a clogged drain, of television static at 3 a.m., of something that had been dead for a very long time. "You watched my movie," it said, and now I could hear the dual voices clearly. Emma's sweet alto layered with something ancient and malevolent. "You stopped it right before the best part. That's not very polite." The bedroom door slammed shut behind us. I dropped my phone. The screen cracked when it hit the hardwood floor, but it still gave off just enough light to see by. "The crooked man is coming," the thing whispered, and I could feel its breath on my ear, cold and damp like morning fog. "He's coming for you." "But I didn't watch the whole thing," I protested, my voice cracking like a 13-year-old's. "I paused it. I didn't even see the end." "You don't have to see the end." The voice was fading, becoming more static than words. "You just have to believe." Believe in what? That some doors once opened can never be closed. The weight behind me vanished. The cold presence disappeared like smoke. I sat alone in my bedroom, in the dark, with a cracked phone and a dead laptop and the lingering smell of stagnant water. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone and dialed Emma's number. It went straight to voicemail. She always turned it off during movies. "It's me," I said after the beep, trying to keep my voice steady. "Call me back as soon as you get this. I don't care how late it is. Just call me back, okay? I love you." I hung up and sat in the darkness, listening to the old house settle around me. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every whisper of wind through the walls sounded like children's nursery rhymes. The crooked man. I'd seen the movie. I knew how this worked. He fed on fear, appeared in reflections, twisted reality until you couldn't tell what was real anymore. The Warrens had barely been able to stop him in the film. But as I sat there, waiting for the power to come back on, waiting for Emma to call me back, waiting for my heart rate to return to normal, I realized something that made my blood run even colder. I'd never actually put the DVD in my laptop. I'd been streaming The Conjuring 2 from Max, which meant that somewhere, somehow, he'd already found a way through. The power flickered back on at 11:47 p.m. My laptop rebooted automatically, and the familiar Windows startup sound filled the room. Everything appeared normal, my desktop wallpaper, my icons, my files, all exactly where I'd left them. But when I opened my browser to check my Mac's history, there was no record of me watching The Conjuring 2 that night. Instead, there was a single entry I didn't recognize, The Conjuring 2 Director's Nightmare Cut. Watched, October 23rd, 10:47 p.m. Duration 7 minutes 23 seconds. Status incomplete. Below that, in red text that seemed to pulse with its own light, viewer contract activated. He knows you're watching. Thank you for playing. I slammed the laptop shut and didn't open it again for 3 days. But it didn't matter. He was already inside. Day 3. The mirrors started showing him first. Just glimpses at the edge of my vision. Impossibly tall, unnaturally bent, that awful crooked smile. I covered every reflective surface in my apartment with towels and sheets, but it didn't help. He was in the chrome faucets, the surface of my coffee, even the black screen of my powered-off phone. Emma came over on day 2, worried because I hadn't been answering her calls. She looked exactly like she had that night. Short pixie cut, concerned brown eyes, the same vanilla and coconut scent. "You look terrible," she said, touching my forehead. "When's the last time you slept, or showered, or ate something that wasn't energy bars and coffee?" I wanted to tell her everything. About the movie, about the thing pretending to be her, about the nursery rhyme that was stuck in my head like a broken record. But how do you explain something like that without sounding insane? "Just a rough week at work," I lied. "Big project deadline." She stayed with me that night, curled up against my side in bed, her breathing soft and even. I didn't sleep. I couldn't risk closing my eyes, couldn't risk letting my guard down. At 3:33 a.m. her phone buzzed with a text message. There was a crooked man, and he walked a crooked mile. The message was from Emma's own number. I shook her awake. "Emma, who has access to your phone?" "What?" She sat up, groggy and confused. "Nobody. Why?" I showed her the message. She stared at it for a long moment, then looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, part concern, part fear. "I didn't send this. I know you didn't." "Then who?" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening. "Oh my God, look at the screen." The message was gone. In its place was a single word, repeated over and over until it filled the entire screen. Crooked, crooked. Emma threw the phone across the room like it was on fire. "What the hell is happening?" she whispered. I pulled her close, breathing in her scent, memorizing the feel of her in my arms. "I'm not sure you'd believe me if I told you." But I told her anyway. Everything. The movie, the power outage, the thing that had pretended to be her, the 7-day countdown that was now down to hours. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "So," she said finally, "you think this demon thing is going to come out of a screen and kill you? It sounds crazy when you say it like that. It sounds crazy any way you say it." She sat up and looked at me seriously. "But I believe you. You do? You're the most rational person I know. You don't believe in ghosts or demons or any of that stuff. If you're this scared, something real is happening." She paused, chewing her lower lip the way she did when she was thinking hard. "Besides," she added, "my phone just sent me a text message from my own number. That's not exactly normal." We spent the rest of the night researching. Emma made coffee while I searched every corner of the internet for information about the Crooked Man, demonic manifestations, and ways to break supernatural curses. Most of it was garbage. Forum posts by teenagers trying to scare each other, creepypasta stories that were obviously fiction, conspiracy theories about government mind control experiments. But buried in an obscure paranormal research blog, I found something that made my heart skip. Demonic entities that manifest through media feed on fear and recognition. Each viewing strengthens their connection to our reality. The Crooked Man, in particular, exists in the spaces between dimensions. He uses nursery rhymes and children's games as anchors to our world. The only way to sever the connection is to complete the ritual that binds him, not run from it. "What does that even mean?" Emma asked, reading over my shoulder. I stared at the screen, pieces clicking together in my mind. The movie I watched, it wasn't just a streaming copy of The Conjuring 2. It was something else. Something that used the movie as a doorway. A doorway to what? To here, to our world. I turned to face her. "Emma, what if the Crooked Man isn't just a movie monster? What if someone actually summoned him, filmed it, and now it's spreading through streaming platforms like a virus?" "That's..." She started to dismiss the idea, then stopped. "Actually, that's terrifying." 10:30 p.m. An hour and a half until midnight. Every screen in my apartment was covered or unplugged, but I could feel his presence growing stronger. The temperature had dropped at least 10 degrees, and there was that smell again, old wood and something sickly sweet, like rotting flowers. Emma held my hand as we sat on my couch, as far from any reflective surface as we could manage. "Maybe he won't come," Emma whispered. "Maybe covering the screens worked. Maybe." But I knew she was wrong. I could feel him watching us, waiting. He didn't need a screen anymore. He was already here, in the spaces between seconds, in the pause between heartbeats. 11:50 a.m. The power went out. In the darkness, I heard the familiar sound of my laptop booting up, even though I'd unplugged it hours ago. The screen cast an eerie blue glow across the room. Words appeared, typing themselves letter by letter in a child's handwriting. There was a crooked man, and he walked a crooked mile. He found a crooked sixpence upon a crooked stile. He bought a crooked cat, which caught a crooked mouse, and they all lived together in a little crooked house. Emma's grip on my hand tightened. "Don't look at it," she whispered. "Don't give it what it wants." But I had to look. I had to see. The screen flickered, and there he was, impossibly tall, bent at unnatural angles, wearing Emma's face, but wrong, all wrong. His smile was too wide, his eyes too dark. "You stopped my game," appeared on screen in that same childish scrawl. Very rude. "But I'm not unreasonable. I'll make you a deal." Don't listen to it, Emma said, but her voice sounded far away. Give me what I want, and I'll leave you alone. All I want is to finish my nursery rhyme. Let me tell it through you. The room was getting colder. Frost was forming on the windows. Just say yes, and all of this ends. You can go back to your normal life. You can keep your Emma. All you have to do is let me in. The cursor blinked, waiting for my response. Emma was saying something, but her words were distorted, like she was speaking underwater. The only clear thing in the room was the screen and the thing looking out at me from inside it. I know you want to say yes, he typed. I can feel it. You're tired of being afraid. You're tired of fighting something you can't understand. Just let go. Let me in. Let me know. Emma's voice cut through the static in my head like a knife. She lunged forward and slammed my laptop shut, her hands burning from the cold radiating off the screen. The room plunged back into darkness. She shook me by the shoulders. Look at me! I blinked, focusing on her face in the dim light coming through the window. Her real face, warm and alive and completely, utterly human. He was in my head, I whispered. I almost said yes. But you didn't. Emma pulled me into a fierce hug. You didn't, and that's what matters. The clock on my wall chimed midnight. Nothing happened. We waited in the darkness for another hour, but the presence was gone. The cold lifted. The smell of rotting flowers faded away. When the power came back on at 1:23 a.m., my laptop wouldn't boot. The hard drive was completely fried, not corrupted but physically destroyed, as if something had burned it out from the inside. We never did figure out what had really happened that week. The official explanation was that I'd had a stress-induced breakdown triggered by a power outage and too many horror movies. Emma went along with it, even though she'd experienced some of it herself. But sometimes, late at night when I'm browsing the internet, I'll come across a forum post or a social media comment that makes my blood run cold. Has anyone else seen that weird version of The Conjuring 2 that's been going around? It's not the regular movie. It's like a director's cut or something. Really messed up. I watched it last week, and I swear I keep hearing nursery rhymes. My friend sent me this link to a streaming site with a bunch of rare horror movies. There's one called The Conjuring 2, Director's Nightmare Cut, that you can't find anywhere else. The crooked man scenes are way more intense. Day 3. I know it sounds crazy, but I think he's real. There was a crooked man and he walked a crooked mile. I can't get it out of my head. If anyone else has seen the video, please tell me there's a way to... Those posts never get finished. And sometimes, just sometimes, I'll notice that the user who started the thread joined the forum exactly 7 days ago. I've stopped clicking on those links. Some doors, once opened, can never really be closed, but they can be walked away from. And sometimes, that's enough. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any upcoming videos.